Yo, what's up, guys? It's Dom, and you're tuning in to Talks with Dom, where we touch on a series of topics that dives into the creator within. Over time, the goal is to help each and every one of you partaking in this transformation to better understand who and where you are on your journey. So let's chop it up, guys. We're on to point 6, comparison and creativity, right? Understanding just one thing when it's talking about comparison, right? I was just having this thought a couple days, just being at work and everything, and as I'm doing my work and stuff, like I'm getting an idea of comparison, right, within my own life, of seeing the thing that I'm doing, right, and comparing it to the next thing that may be close to what I'm doing, right, or in the lane of what I'm doing, and how that effectiveness and how that thing became popular, and how that's something like the talk of the that's like the talk of the time right now, right? So then being able to look at what I'm creating to be like, damn, like, okay, maybe I need to add this or maybe I need to add that, right? And then understanding right there, that's already a red flag for the way that I'm creating, right? I have times where I do that. So being able to plug myself out of that to be able to truly focus in on the meaning of what I'm doing, right? The direction of where I'm going, the mission for me as a creative, right? So then for you guys though, right, understanding that comparison, like people may look at comparison as good in a certain way, right? But when it comes to creating, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to pulling that creation out of yourself, comparison is only comparison can be a poison to the full process of the way that you create if you're depending on that as a as more than inspiration, as more than motivation, right? Depending on comparison is what detours you from what you're actually trying to do, right? So comparison can seem like it's only about looking at someone else's work, but when you're creating, comparison can quietly change the way you see your own process, right? What does comparison cause me to do with what I'm creating, right? That's a big question, right? That is a good question to ask yourself, right? When you find yourself doing that, right? Anytime, through any person that's watching this right now, so anytime that you find yourself doing that, that's a question that you should ask yourself, right? What does comparison cause me to do with what I'm creating, right? Get your mind thinking on that so that you can unplug and detach from that, right? To truly be able to get going on what it is that you're doing, right? The mission that you're set forth to walk down and conquer and complete, right? Number one, your reference point changes, right? You start with your own ideas, your own vision, and your own creative process. Then you look at someone else's work. Suddenly their result becomes the measuring stick for yours. It goes from, is this becoming what I envisioned, to, is this as good as theirs, right? So understanding that change of something that you envisioned to that thing being as good as theirs, right? I had did a short of understanding that there's a purpose for every creative idea and every creation that it's set forth and put out to the people, right? So just because one creation may be more popular than the next, or just because, let's just say, like somebody that might have put out something that's close to what you're putting out, right? And theirs might gain a tad bit more traction than yours, just because that may happen, or vice versa. But however that happens, right? The true meaning of these things getting put out is not so that more people can see, because sometimes it's not about the quantity. Sometimes it's about the quality of that creation. So if you understand that one person has put out something and 100 people seen that, right? But then you got the next person that might have put out something and only 25 people seen that, 25 to 30 people seen that, right? But out of that 30 people, 25 to 28 people actually did something with that, right? Actually showed how that gave them value, right? Rather than having 100 people and only 10 people truly gaining value from that, right? So now it's just more of like, okay, now you start to understand, yeah, quantity can be good in some areas, but then when we're talking about something like this, quality takes the higher step than quantity, because every creation has its own purpose, as I said before, right? Now your creativity is being measured by something outside of you. You never want that to be, right? Number two, your perception of your work changes. Your work didn't necessarily change, your eyes did. You can look at something you were excited about, see someone else's work, and suddenly notice everything you think yours is missing, right? You start to pick apart the things that yours doesn't have, because this thing over here that you're comparing it to has this, and that. So now it's just more of like, dang, like you're kind of breaking down the quality of your creation because you believe that that thing that you're comparing it to has more quality. Let's keep in mind, your creation before comparison has its own purpose. The thing that you're comparing your creation to has its own purpose as well, right? So let's keep that in mind. Comparison can make you experience the same creation differently simply because you place something beside it. Man, and that's a big part, right? You always want to. It's always going to make you. It can make you see or have a second thought about how your creation is different from the first time, from when you created it and you thought what you thought about it, right? You thought that bad boy was dope, and then you brought comparison into it, and that gave you a second thought on it. Dang, well, it's actually this, it's actually missing that, it's actually kind of leaning a little bit, right? Now it's time to step back. It's time to step back and remember, dang, but this got a purpose though, right? I got my own purpose set aside from what that thing is, right? So it's dope that that thing has this, and that, right? But I am where I am for a reason. I have a purpose of doing this. I have a purpose of putting this out, right? Number three, your originality starts getting negotiated. You start wondering, should I do it more like them, right? You started questioning whether your way is enough. Comparison becomes dangerous to creativity, right? This is where it becomes dangerous, because now it's stemming inside your brain, right? Poisoning the way that you look at your things, the way that you look at the things that you make, right? You stop discovering what makes your expression yours and start adjusting your expression towards someone else's, right? Number four, your creative decisions become reactions, right? It goes from what does this idea need to how does this compare, right? Switching from what is truly important, what is truly priority, to something that truly doesn't matter, something that truly doesn't even exist or shouldn't even exist, right? Now your decisions aren't necessarily coming from the idea itself, right? They're coming from your reaction to what you've seen. You're still creating, but your creation is being influenced by a measurement that wasn't there when you began. Man, let's read that one more time, right? You're still creating, but your creation is being influenced by a measurement that wasn't there when you began, right? So now it's that second thought. It's that second person that's coming into your mind about what you've done, about, you know what I mean, what you thought was top tier, that tries to bring that down because of other things that's been seen, other things that's been put out. That's not the point. The point is that you got that thing out, you put it out, you thought about it, you created it, and you put it out. That's the thing, that's the purpose. You know what I mean? Number five, you lose sight of your development. Someone else's finished work can make you judge your unfinished process. Wow. You see where they are without seeing everything that brought them there, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever heard how people see the finished product, right? But people didn't see the journey that brought me to the finished product, right? They only see the success. They didn't see the fails that I had to go to be able to get to that success, right? You got to think about that before you think to want to be in somebody else's shoes, right? The things that you don't think about is what they had to go through in those shoes before you decided that that's what you wanted to be, or that's what you wanted to, or those were the shoes that you wanted to wear, right? Your process was never supposed to be looked. Your process was never supposed to look identical to theirs. Comparison isn't always something you need to eliminate, right? Sometimes it reveals something. Sometimes it reveals something, right? It can show you what you admire, what you desire, what you feel insecure about, what you want to develop, what you may be afraid you're not capable of becoming, right? All of these things are okay to feel, right? As I said before, we're creative, so we're always going to feel, and sometimes we're going to feel deep, right? That's good. Supposed to feel that way, but then being able to operate and manage through that. Okay, I feel this way, but that doesn't mean that I need to do this with the way that I look at the things that I do, right? Yes, I feel this way, but now maybe that needs to take way in the way that I create, right? Okay, so if I feel that doing something like that is something that I desire, okay, what is it within myself that wants to create something like that, right? You may be able to do that, right? But letting that be the judgment on if the thing that you create, the thing that you put out, right, is good enough, or is something that can get far enough, or is something that is worth putting out, shouldn't be based on that thing, right? Ever. You know what I mean? The key is learning to observe what comparison is revealing before allowing it to redefine how you create. Sometimes comparison makes you stop seeing who you're becoming, right? You could becoming, you could be becoming the thing that you actually been waiting for, the thing that you actually are looking at, the thing that you're comparing yourself to, because you're just kind of like, well, dang, this is what I want to be like. But now thinking about that so much as you're taking steps, you're not truly understanding that you may even be becoming something even more than that thing that you're comparing to. But you're not focused on the mission the way that you're supposed to be focused on it, right? You're not staying silent to what you are and who you are, right? As a creative. And sometimes we can get sidestepped. Sometimes we can look a little bit too far to the left, right? And which is okay. Understanding that we have to pull ourselves back and continue the mission, right? Continue to build on ourselves, right? To help us to better understand while we're on this path. Every time that we feel like that we're slipping away or straying away, right? So just keep that in mind on a day-to-day, guys. You know what I mean? It's a mental exercise, right? To always understand what you're putting out, the journey that you have to go through to get that thing put out is for a purpose, right? Every creative creates for a specific purpose. The things that each creative is putting out, each creation that gets put out by each creative is for a purpose, right? There's no really thing that's better than what your thing is, or there's no thing that's better than another thing if each one of these things give purpose, right? If each one of these things have purpose to whoever is actually seeing that, right? You never know what the thing that you're creating is going to do for the person that sees that or that needs it. So taking life from that creation to put it more into the thing that you're comparing it to, right? It's almost like taking steps back, right? So we got to understand how to continue to add those steps in, continue to give life to what we create, because we never know who we're depriving of being able to gain and receive purpose from what we put out, right? So keep that in mind, though, guys. To the next one.